What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? You look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up, these men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
Welcome back, Male Cartel. So great to be with you. I'm Nick.
I'm Shane. Let's go.
We have been off air for, I guess you would say off air.
Off the air. We're breathing air, though.
Yeah, for about a month.
Yeah, man.
Since episode 26. It's been busy.
Yeah, we've had a lot of stuff going. Good busy. Good as busy as good.
Yeah. We were at the Men of Valor conference where we got to meet some of you. Got to meet... even guys like Darren, who is a consistent listener. That was awesome to meet him in person.
Let's go, Darren.
He's always giving us positive feedback, letting us know when he feels some of the banter's funny, unlike Ethan.
Yep.
And so it was great to meet him and hang out with him some. And then Dustin Alley with Men After God podcast. He was there.
Yep.
And we look forward to having him on.
I was in his breakout, too.
Oh, yeah. How'd that go?
It was good. It was good. It's on marriage and everything. I knew, man, as soon as he told us to type this thing out, talk about wives, I knew he was going to send it to it. So you know what I did? I went ahead and sent it to my wife. Didn't even wait on him.
Oh, really?
And then he said it, and I was like, I knew it because I already sent it. You know, it's predestined.
Yep. So we've had Men of Valor and then our personal vacations. We take them late in the year.
Yep, because you're grinding everywhere else.
Yeah.
So
been a busy summer, and so
you were at the Bahamas, right? Or Jamaica, or where were you at?
So actually,
the lake.
It's unlike me to be able to have a whole week off, and so we did the Harvest Foundation retreat. Which, if you're a pastor listening to this and want to find out about that, you have to be a lead pastor or a campus pastor.
Yeah, I'm not a real one yet.
Yeah, so. You got to be a real pastor.
Yeah, doggone it.
So last year, that's I forget which episode it was where we shared about the child abduction.
Yep.
So that happened in Mexico. So they paid for us to go to Mexico. We had to cover our transportation. This year we went to Kissimmee, Florida, stayed at the Omni at Champions Gate, somewhere I would never. I'd probably be the guy in there scrubbing floors. That's about the closest I'd get. So really nice resort. They take good care of pastors. There were 900 couples.
Wow.
Pastors and their spouses for that they paid for the lodging. When it's a local, like, domestic trip, they do a reimbursement for the meals, and they cover it all. They ask nothing of you. We go to 3 short, like, 30-minute sessions, and that's mainly worship. We do worship. They give a few announcements. They show a 3-minute video of, like, why the Harvest Foundation does what it does. That's it. Like, there's no ask.
They're just loving on you.
Just loving on pastors.
And your kids went too, right?
No. So on that was the cruise.
That's right.
So we, when we got done with that, we left out, and our kids met us in Jacksonville, and then we drove from Orlando, met them in Jacksonville, and then jumped on a 4-day cruise. First, the kids have ever gotten to go. You know, Gavin's 21, Tristan's 18,
Yeah.
and then Haley is 16. So
was it just like a family vacation cruise?
yeah, so we found a cheap 4-day cruise.
Do you
on
cover
our-
all the expenses? Because your dad, or does like at their ages? I'm only asking because I'm trying to budget the next 6 years. So like, just trying to think. Daisy will be older. How do you do it as a
So
dad?
we did on this one. We covered everything. Now we decided that after the cruise. There were some things we told them they were going to have to pay for, but there was a couple factors. One, we wanted to do a cruise before Gavin graduated. So we had one scheduled in 2020, and with COVID, it got rescheduled 3 times, and we kept rescheduling, and then we finally just got a refund. Then, so we didn't get to go then, and that was to celebrate his accomplishments.
That's right.
Then this year, and it was a cheap cruise. I mean, we found a very cheap cruise on Carnival, so it wasn't like a luxury. You know, there's some cruises out there super expensive, and so then instead of gifts, Gavin and Haley, their birthdays land end of July, 1st of August. So they were like, they would rather do something, go somewhere, than just get gifts because they pretty much have what they need. Tristan works, so he's got money. He can go buy what he needs. So we kind of did a combo, trip for that. And so at the end of it, I had gotten some extra money doing some various different things.
Yeah.
And so I just told Nikki, I said, just tell the kids it's covered. And, that some of the extra expenses, I'm going to, and it was funny because the responses were, Gavin was, are you sure? Because my bill was, because each person gets a key. And then when you go to buy a drink or whatever, if it's not included, then it's extra. So each person can see how much they spent on their card. And he's like, are you sure? Because, my bill was kind of high. And Tristan was like, well, had I known that, I would have spent more. So that's the, of course he's joking.
That's right.
But I just was like, look, we got the money, or we'll, it's worth the investment. We haven't had a family vacation like that in a long time. So now what we've said beyond that, Haley's 16, so she doesn't count. She doesn't have a job. But the others, like if you want, if we do something like that in the future, we'll probably say, hey, we'll contribute this amount because we want to maybe do a family vacation. But anything else and above and beyond would be on you.
That's right.
So, so it was a good time. Had a good time with the family. They're old enough; they kind of go off and do some of their own stuff. But at the same time, we got to be together, eat dinner together on the ship and stuff like that.
Did Gavin wear his little Speedo thing?
No. Thankfully, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, would you have been embarrassed? Because it's hard. Listeners may not know this, but Nick he's literally in like 99.9% in every situation. He's never going to be embarrassed.
No, it wouldn't have embarrassed me. It's just like I don't want to.
He comes up and loves the
I
one.
want to see any guy in a Speedo.
No banana hammocks, guys.
But y'all went to Clearwater?
Yeah,
Florida?
family. Yeah. We left church Sunday, went to Orlando. It was bananas in Orlando. And
you weren't too far from us.
Yeah, not too far at all. We went to Orlando for Sunday, spent the night there, and we're basically an hour and 45 minutes away to Clearwater. So vacation was Monday to Monday. So we did Sunday, and we went to Disney Springs. That's just free Disney. Free. And you know what we went there for? 2 things. Listen, I try to talk them out of it because it's not worth the hassle. It's gotten overcrowded. It's just not fun anymore. And the boys wanted Legos from the Lego place. Daisy wants a Dole Whip. That's it. A little ice cream joint thing. So we went there, walked around. It was slammed, dude. It was so crazy. And everybody's speaking different languages, which is not a problem. But everybody's on the left side when they're supposed to be on the right. You know what I mean? Like everything is like there's no.
They got those lines. like in the evening because they got some show.
But they'll have that
Yeah.
too. But we walked around and like when you're like going around a building type of thing, you say to the right.
Yes.
If the building's on the right.
Yes.
And so could we drive on the right side of the road? It just been crazy, man. Like I get a little nervous because I have kids, and so I just don't want somebody to abduct my kid, type of thing. And so,
just call me.
I know, dude. Listen, I need a gun. My BB gun won't do the justice.
I'll track them down like in Mexico.
So we and there's a place like a burger place we always eat at. We've been eating at this place for like 5 years now, 6 years, 6 years.
Disney Springs?
No, we can't afford that, bro. That'd be the whole vacation.
Well,
unless I was Corral.
We went to one meal.
Like Corral,
we went to one meal there because they reimbursed up to a certain amount with the retreat. Crazy, but everybody's like, "Oh, you got to try this one place."
So I don't mind like eating out like dinner one night, but we go to Freddy's, which is a hamburger place.
We got that in North Augusta.
Yeah, we love Freddy's, and so so we ate Freddy's and did that. The next day, we just did pool, went to Clearwater, and stayed there for a whole week, and it was fun, man. I didn't take not one nap. I'm a napper. You may not know this, but I'm a napper, and I nap all the time. So big napper.
Wow.
So yeah. So, but I didn't take any naps because my boys, they wanted to be at the pool, and we got things to do and things to have fun with and all the things. So yeah, but no napping, and we good.
Did y'all go to Disney?
No, we don't do no. We did Disney when the kids were little, and then when, before COVID, I guess it's before COVID. Maybe it's before. Was it before COVID? Yeah, before COVID. We did a trip to Disney one day, and my wife planned it all out. And I think we spent $800, and then we stayed, used our Marriott points because we have a Chase Marriott. We used our points to stay in the hotel, the one that we like, down there for free, and then spent $800 and did Disney all day long. So yeah, so we did that and did the whole Disney experience, and man, but it was great because we closed it. We got there when it opened, and we closed it down when it closed, and we rode everything we wanted to ride, do the whole deal. And my kids are just not big Disney stuff. They would really like the Star Wars, maybe like Marvel. Other than that, we're not big like Mickey Mouse and stuff. So we never have been. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. We don't put. I was more of my Daisy was more of a Barney than a Mickey, and so we did watch a lot of Barney. I did feel a little weird watching it, but we did. I was a Captain Kangaroo guy myself growing up.
Captain Kangaroo.
So look
Bozo
at producer. I got a rise out over here at producer Corral.
Oh yeah.
So
did you do Bozo the Clown? They had the Fun Factory or whatever.
I did that when I was a kid too. I was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood too. I thought the woman with the little big red nose, I thought she was a little weird, a little strange. But yeah, I liked Mr. Rogers. I liked Sesame Street as a kid. It helped me learn.
Nikki would not let me do this poll, but I wanted to. If you're a grown man wearing a Disney shirt, do you have mental health problems?
Listen.
And I'm going to put this on the Spotify. There's always a poll because now I've got a friend, Richard, who's a pastor. He'll wear one, but it's only like going to the park, and that's like for the family. But there are some, like, and he's doing it because his wife is essentially making him. And
my wife don't make me do jack, bro.
Well, yeah, she's wanting him to type deal.
Oh yeah, she's probably
yeah. But like he's not willingly like, you know what? Today I'm going to wear my Goofy shirt.
Mickey.
But there are some guys who do.
100%.
And so I was as I'm walking through and I see these people kind of happily. I'm like, there's something wrong if you're a grown man wanting to wear a Disney shirt.
That's the guys
like
that
Mickey
wear
Mouse shirt or a Goofy shirt.
I can promise you, if they do that, they're eating what's that cereal that is like not like cornflakes or anything like that. It's
like the
something grain,
wheat brand or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's like a whole grain.
Yeah, they eat like whole grain cereal.
Those little expensive boxes that only the old people
That's right.
eat.
That's right.
And
they probably wear
regular.
100%, and they probably wear flip-flops, leather flip-flops from like Abercrombie
Sandals.
in the winter time.
Leather wraparound sandals
with closed-toe sandals.
Yes,
Yep.
with socks.
Black
with
socks.
Not ankle socks, but calf level socks with shorts.
100%.
With a
fanny
pack.
Yeah, and now though they probably wear men carry purses, like a bag. They call it what's it called? That's a bag. I watched
They call them a purse, man purse.
Man purse. That's what I've seen, man. If you do that, know that I've already judged you.
Mm-hmm.
I've already drew my conclusions from you, and it would be indifferent if I saw you wearing a dress. I would draw my conclusion from you, like something's wrong, something's off there.
Yeah.
You in the pill bottle when it still rattles. You take your medicine, and you something in the pills in it. You're like, oh man, I must have missed a dose. That's what's happening. They missed a dose.
Yeah.
When you wear a dress, you missed a dose.
Yeah, they're definitely soy boys. They probably use almond milk and
soy boys.
Soy boys. Yes.
Yeah, don't do soy, man. I'd rather you do almond milk. Ain't no wrong with unflavored almond milk with your protein shake. But that's the only way you can't eat cereal with almond milk. You need to do like
almond can't have milk.
I don't know how they milk an almond.
It's almond water. They
put some like drops in it.
They squeeze like the udders on a cow. They like squeeze, I guess, almonds, and so it's like a milky color because the inside of an almond is like a cream white color, but it's just like almond water.
Almond water.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And they use chocolate cows. That's how they do. Black cows for chocolate cows.
Yeah, for chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk. Yeah, they do.
Borden chocolate milk. They had some of that on the chip.
Listen, that's a throwback. I'd probably tear that thing up.
Yep.
I just don't do a whole lot of dairy like that, but yeah. But yeah, good vacation, good everything. So I'm gonna be back. I'm at the grind. I leave. So by the time this podcast get rolling, I would already be in Maine, Augusta, Maine. I'm speaking at a men's conference up there.
Wow.
So on Saturday.
A long ways to go for.
I want to do. I'm gonna make my van. Let me hop out. I'm gonna run down Highway 1 because that takes me straight home. I remember jogging. I was in Blythe, and I would jog, 4 or 5 miles back when I used to run all the time when I was in college, and I would run. And I love up and down Highway 1, like all the way to the store, like 3 miles up, and then come back. And I loved it. And then so now I can say I ran in Maine, Highway 1. Same road, bro.
Yeah.
It's a different
We've had to take one when we've been up in the Baltimore area and 95 gets backed up.
Uh-huh.
We'll jump off on 1 and take it for a
100%
way. So
Highway 1. That was actually Hank Murphy. Remember that name?
Yeah.
Also known as Brandon
Murphy.
His first band with Jackson Stevens.
Can we give him free advertisement? I don't
know. He needs we'll call him Hank.
The show.
Let's not mention his name anymore. His stage name.
His real name.
His real name is Henry. So Henry's first band was called Highway 1.
Yeah, that's right.
Because in Louisville it was Highway 1. So, yeah.
And wasn't one of his first songs like Trees?
It was Trees. Yeah.
Trees.
I want to praise you like the trees.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of corny, but it's awesome.
No, really. Hank's our brother. We love him. Super talented guy.
Oh yeah.
He now is under Brandon Murphy.
Yep. Sony Music. Yep.
Sony Music. Yep. And so
big time.
We're not as big time with Male Cartel, so we don't get to go to the same parties and the dinner gatherings.
Yeah, man.
I don't think we get tweets from him anymore.
You don't.
Or text.
At least you went to the Harvest Crusade down there in Florida at the Harvest Foundation.
Harvest Foundation. Yeah, that's for poor pastors who can't go to the Omni by themselves.
When I'm a real pastor, I'm going to go, bro, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, one day I'll pray that you become a real pastor.
Yeah, please do.
Then
Please do.
Get those perks. Actually, they talked about one of their videos. They want to extend it to other, staff level pastors. Corel would be out of luck because you got to be married. So they want it to be a couples thing.
We got 1 year though.
We got a year. I mean, yeah, we got time.
If they extend it, we got 1 year to hit that Publix up.
Yeah. So this coming year they're doing 2, one in late 2025. I think it's like October, November, and then another 6 months later to the Dominican Republic.
Okay, a lot of Spanishes.
Yes. So
okay.
The difference in the foreign trips is they cover all your meals. you have to pay for transportation, but they cover all your meals because they
Okay.
do it on the resort wherever you're staying.
Listen, I don't know how much plane ticket is. Probably $500-$600 each, at least.
You can find them, relatively inexpensive throughout the year if you keep a tab on them. Because I think to go to Mexico, it wasn't that bad at all. The problem is, when I was in Mexico, I should have stocked up on, some stuff.
TRT?
TRT.
Yeah. Next time you go to Mexico, just rent a El Camino.
Right.
And then drive that mug down there.
Yep.
I'm doing that. If I get cancer, I'm letting y'all know right now. I get cancer. I'm taking El Camino from Evans, Georgia. I'm going to drive it straight to Mexico. I'm going to pull through, and then I'm going to turn around and come back the other way. I'm doing that.
This is your bucket list?
If I have cancer, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it because...
If you're dying of cancer, or if you just
I
get
don't
cancer?
know. It just sounds cool. You got cancer and you drove an El Camino down to Mexico. And I'm going to pick a stray dog and throw him in the back. Just ride around with a stray dog. I can have no gun. I'm just going to have a machete on the dashboard.
There's a movie. Isn't there a movie called Machete or something like that?
It probably is. It sounds
just
Mexico-ish.
live that out.
Yeah. I'm just thinking. I just think of funny stuff like that.
I'm gonna do like Last Blood and go rescue a girl from, sex trafficking in Mexico.
I say, let's go. We can mound up some dudes to go do that. What's on the agenda today?
Actually, I was saving some of the things I experienced. You're talking about like people walking on the right side, should be on the left side. For our conversation, I mentioned us talking about, being a respectable man. Because there was a few even encounters that I had that I was thinking like, man, with guys, and it's like, what are you doing? And just men in general. One of the things I took away from also the cruise is just how unhealthy a lot of people in general are, but also men.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's one of the draws of the cruise is like the buffet and all the food and stuff like that, but it's just like a lot of unhealthy people. And Nikki and I, we've taken 3 cruises. One was our 10th anniversary. One was from the extra money I had from the Costa Rica. And then we've always had this thing of like on cruises, we are not taking the elevator. We're taking the stairs. And like our step count and the calories we burnt through our, tracking, it was like crazy because, going up and down to the different places on the ship and stuff, it's a good workout. Even on your legs, it's like a stair climber. And so, but the first day, a lot of people were taking the stairs. I said, just hold off by the middle of, the cruise, that'll subside because people aren't used to it and they're going to start taking the elevators, and people would be grouped up waiting for elevators, and those elevators take forever. And you could be wherever you're going, taking the steps, and it's just like a lot of people couldn't do that because they're just not healthy. They're out of shape. And it's a problem because that's just one cruise ship.
Yeah.
This is one group.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see how many people were in the fitness clubs though, at both the retreat and the others. So there are people who are committed.
Did you work out
healthy every day?
And did Gavin work out?
Not every day, but I think there was 1 or 2 days, at least that I saw him in there.
Yeah.
If he did any other time, I didn't see him because, like I said, they kind of ran off.
Tristan didn't work out.
He did actually come in one day. He came in one day. I was telling him what to do, and he did a few things, kind of playing around, and then walked off. So, speaking of Tristan, real quick before we get into it, he took his ACT for a job placement with a company, and they require you to go do an ACT at the tech school. And super proud of him. Of course, he graduated at 16. He and Gavin have always been kind of gifted and stuff like that. Super
get
smart.
It honest, man, bro.
On 2 scales, you had like a 0 or a 1 to 7, 7 being the highest. He scored a 7. And then on the other, the highest score you could get was a 90 out of like 1 to 90. Maybe I forget what that scale was. But anyway, he got an 88 out of 90.
Wow.
And so I was like, if that company doesn't hire him up, he just turned 18 and scoring like that, they're stupid.
Yeah.
So
And he is not. Let's go.
Right. Super proud of him. So just I kind of made some notes, and we can kind of go back and forth in conversation. But what do you think of? What are some things, like if you were talking to a young man and about being respectable, having respect for, people respecting him, what was some of those things that you would?
Gosh, I'll say one thing off in my brain, and then I'll let you talk, and then I guess we can just keep going back and forth with those things, because I can think of 5 or 6 things. My first thing that comes to my mind, like when you sent that to me, was if I was talking to a young man, and even somebody who's my age, having to like reboot his life, I would say we got to have some grit. We got to have some grit. We don't talk about it often.
It's good. Like that.
But we got to have some grit. We live in a culture today that grit is admired, I believe, via movies and certain TV shows, to be a main character type of attribute. So whether it's an action hero that people make money, or whether it's a team going through adversity and always pushing for the victory, and no matter the situation or consequences, they keep getting back up, and having that grit, that moxie. And I think but I think that, again, we admire it from, culture does admire it from movies. And I think that they do, to an extent, at large, admire it in the world today.
Yeah.
But I think it's politicized. You try to use as like an arm, and then I think that we know that it's not a staple that we see, having grit. So we choose to, like, I say we. I'm not part of that group that chooses, but there is a group, a very big majority, that will choose to put the spotlight on grit as being like a negative thing. Like you're not, like there's a mental health issue, and I've seen people talk about that, like counselors before, just about if you keep getting up, like you're dealing with so much trauma, level 7, level 8 trauma, you're dealing with this, and you just need a safe place to go do this. And then you just, instead of like saying, they just got some grit. They got, they keep getting up, and you may have issues. There may be some stuff there. And I think you talk about it, but I don't think that you stop.
Yeah.
I don't think you stop. And I think that there seems to be this like timeout mentality in the middle of it. It's okay to time out. I think of recently, Daddy Mike just had shoulder surgery. And if you know Daddy Mike, he was on a podcast early on. We did an interview with him, and a big supporter of Male Cartel. He's in his 60s, and he had shoulder surgery, and he's not taking any pain medicine.
Yeah.
He's actually coming to youth tonight, and we're going to try to bring him a meal. He's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm straight." I mean, it's been like a week.
Yeah.
A week. And he's in his 60s. Not that's a bad thing, but when I look at his life, I go, man, this dude, he is finishing stronger, sits in his 30s than he did in the first 30s of his life. Something that, we've talked about with me, like that. I want to finish stronger in the second half of my life. And like, I see that and you go, he's already raised 3 boys, and now he's helping to raise grandbabies. He's in the thick of ministry. Like, I mean, he's like, and then on top of that, when I know another gentleman who had shoulder surgery, and a couple other people, men, and they're just laying them on their bed. I mean, they're just laying on the couch, and like, and it's painful, I'm sure. But I don't know, a lot of whining and crying. And when I look at their life, I go, man, they hadn't had a lot of grit. They haven't had a lot. And I look at their life and I go, man, I don't want to, they're my friends, but I don't. And if they listen to podcasts, do know that that's not an insult. I'm just being completely honest.
Just having to compare.
Yeah, I'm just comparing. Like, I look at that and go, oh gosh, I admired, Daddy Mike because he's a beast.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? That's like, you
I think
you
as
get
men,
sewn up and then let's go.
Yeah, I think as men, it just naturally causes us to respect a man like that, because it's painful, but he's not allowing that pain to paralyze him. Essentially, he's grinding through it, and you go, man. Well, that's kind of man I want to be.
Think about, you got 3 boys, so his boys are now older, and they're looking at dad.
Yeah,
and you look at now he's pouring into young men.
Yeah,
then he has people like me, and like my team of men, young men who are in ministry, and they all look at that and they go, And when he shows up on the scene, and you're gonna go like, "Are you even supposed to be here?" And he's like, "No, I'm healthy. I've been on pain meds in 3 days. I'm straight." And you're like, "Okay, all right." And then, but at the end of the day, you'll go, "Man, that's kind of how I want to be." So that grit, that's things that I admire. Same thing on TV shows. I admire, you know, you like you were just saying. We were saying about before the podcast was rolling, before we were recording, just going through. I remember back when, you know, there are different jobs, and then your church might be 15 years old, and then you were, you know, working 50 plus hours a week. And I remember the grind for you when you were just getting after it, and there was no pity party, there was no nothing. And even though I'm sure you had days where you just like, why me, man? Why do I have to do it all? And there's nothing wrong with asking why, but you didn't stay there in that spot, man. You just like, and I always admired that from a distance, going like, dang, because I didn't have any kids. If you think about it, I didn't have any kids at that time.
Yeah.
And you were a dad, and you had 3 kids, and Haley was just a few years old at that point. So, yeah, it's grit. The first thing. What do you got?
Yeah, and that's you know, that's why I respected like my grandpa so much. You know, he's got 7 fingers, essentially 7 digits, a full hand, and then just his pinky and whatever the ring finger.
Yeah,
and he built houses with that. Whereas a lot of people would see that as a handicap and stuff. He just, you know, even when he was old in age, he was going to night school. He was building an airplane. You know, like I saw that as grit.
Yeah.
But I respected him because it's like nonstop. You know, like he wasn't going to let the circumstances of life stop him.
That's right.
And I respect that in men, and hope people would respect that in me. Not a workaholic, but grinding through the pain, grinding through the difficulties and things like that. The first thing I put, and I put a whole list. We probably won't get to them all, but I said keep your commitments, be a man of your word.
Oh yeah.
So many people who you know, commit to do things, say they're going to show up, say they're going to be somewhere, but then they don't. They allow something, maybe it's something that is requiring grit, requiring hard work, but then there's something more entertaining or something more fun shows up. We, especially with our young people, that's something we have to teach oftentimes. Like, nope, you made a commitment to 100%. This. There's been times even where, you know, we had talked about doing something as a family. It's like, nope, you know, you made a commitment to this team, so you're going to go play that game. You're going to show up. And so I think that is widespread in various different elements of life. But if we make a commitment, we keep it. Now, there are circumstances that can interrupt that, like, you know, your car breaks down, like a legitimate thing, but you do everything in your power to keep that commitment because you made a commitment. And I think, you know, one of the things that I quickly can lose respect for a person is they make a commitment or they promise they're going to do something and then they don't. And it's like, how can you respect that?
Well, all right. So just what you said. So if we'll just say Nicholas Carnes, if you were somebody, you always kept your commitment, right? And you did everything like you're supposed to do. And then there is a problem with your car. You get hit by a deer for the ninth time, and your car's totaled, and you can't make the commitment. That's going to be no problem because people are going to like show grace and all that because your history says this is your track record. This is who you are. And if anything, everybody's going to feel bad.
Right.
How can I help you?
Well, but I also say, I think where what you were just talking about, grit comes in. I think if I'm a man who grinds through the difficulties and I've got that grit, then before I make that phone call to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make this commitment, I've done everything in my power to keep that commitment because that is my character. So my car got hit by a deer. It's disabled. Hey, Nikki, can you get me there? Gavin, can you drive me? Tristan, can you, you know, I'm going to find a way. If all those avenues are shut down, then, okay, I've got to make a phone call and I've got to back out of this. But I'm not just letting anything, I'm not waking up, you know, not feeling good that day or feeling, you know, a little extra tired. Those type circumstantial things where I've made a commitment keep me from that commitment. And that is one of the hardest people to respect is someone who makes promises they don't keep. And the other is, you know, be a man of your word. And that goes down to something I was going to talk about in a minute, and I'll get to it. It's just being honest as well. But that ties in, because if you're not keeping your commitments, you're not an honest person. You know, you're breaking your word. So what else you?
Oh, I love the honesty. I mean, that would be one of my 5 just off the bat. You know, I would say, you know, a respectable man is someone who puts others' interests before their own. And so I respect that a lot. And I do think that in the wrong circumstance, somebody can really like abuse that person's kindness or, you know, that. But I think that we have a plague in America today that has a diffusion of responsibility. And so, and I think it's all of our responsibilities, not just, I mean, biblically speaking, you know, we should consider others better than ourselves, and we should serve people. And I mean, we're chasing this triangle to get to the top, as America says, and get to the top, you got to be the lead guy. But the kingdom is different. It's flipped upside down. We got to run to the bottom, and that's how it is. And so I think putting others before yourself, and the best, like I would say the smallest little thing is my Andrew, my son. We're in the elevator, not because we're lazy. We took the stairs probably 90% of the time. We're on the 3rd floor at our condo, and it was always a race, you know. And so we're carrying out a bunch of stuff down the elevator to go, and now we're on the way up with all the stuff to come up. Everybody's got a load. It started raining, and so we're on the way up. Had a great day at the beach, and we get there, and I'm standing near the door. My Daisy's there, and then Andrew, and then Sawyer, and then Mom. So in the order, it should be me with all the stuff, his sister, then him, and then it should be Sawyer, and then his mama last because she's in the corner. Just makes sense. But my Andrew had to get onto his tail because the door opened, and he cuts right in front of her. And really, I'm the one holding everything like normal. He's holding stuff too, but I've got the bulk of everything. And he cuts in front of me. I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, son." And then we went out, and then my wife was like getting onto him, and I said, "Hey man, I'm just going to tell you something." I said, "This is how it is. You do not the first one to bolt out the door. You're not. Whoever's the closest to the door is the first person that you let out, or the person has the most stuff that's near the door. Even if you're a person there, might as well let them out because they're holding all the stuff. Sometimes it could be daddy, sometimes it could be your sister, it could be your mama. I don't know. It could be a stranger, but let them out first. This needs to stop today." And then he looked at me and he says, "Yes, sir." And I said, "You understand what I'm saying? Because if you're going to do that, you look very selfish."
Yep.
And then he was like, "Yes, sir."
Listen up,
and I promise
people.
you, he did not do that at all.
Listen up, people on the airplane.
I'm telling you, man,
and on
it's
the
crazy.
bus.
They get up an airplane, and then there's that woman with a kid, and then they're just like trying to. They won't even make eye contact, man. They had the earbuds in, and they're like.
You can ask Nikki. When I see them coming up, I will scoot into the aisle and sit halfway on the seat and block the aisle, so it's like you're not getting past me.
Craziest thing,
because they'll be coming up from the back, and people in front of us haven't even deboarded, and it's like or deplaned, whatever.
Well, if that's a big enough issue,
like
you know what you need to do? You need to buy your ticket, and move your seat all the way up.
Yep.
You know, or I have no problem. You stand up and say, "Hey, I'm about to miss my flight. I have another connecting flight. Please let me through." I'll be like, "Sure thing. Let's let her through."
Yeah, there's been times people got a connecting flight.
That's fine.
And the flight attendant will, "Hey, y'all, can we let this person off?" You know.
But when there's a mom with a kid and with a stroller and just normal people, man, like, come on.
That's a good one. That's a good lesson to teach him at a young age too.
Oh yeah, and then that was it, dude. I was very firm with him and let him know. But in my head, I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be the kid that's always. But that's really big in our home is like putting others before yourself.
Yeah.
Like think about people. So we on the way home. Here's another one, and then I'll stop talking. On the way home from Clearwater, something like it's like 8-hour drive, but stops and stuff is close to 10. My wife and I were talking, and my Daisy was over here in a conversation, my 8th grader. And so we're talking about how different it was back in the day. I said, back in my day, the kids ate last. The men ate first, the women ate second, and the kids ate last. That's kind of how it was with old school mentality.
Oh, yeah.
I said, because the man came home from work, and he worked all day long, and they feed him first. I said, but things changed a little bit when, I guess, my grandparents were a certain age, and then they, showed a lot of grace in that. But that was kind of the deal to honor the person who went to work all day. I said, now y'all know in our home, what's the routine? They said the kids eat and mama eats. I said, so who eats last? They said, you. I said, yeah. I said, how many times do we fix this? It's not bragging on me, but this is just how my nature is. I do most of the cooking, in case somebody need to know.
Chef Shane.
Chef Shane in the house, Shaney Crocker. So we go and cook, and then my boys want more. And I haven't made my plates yet. I just feed them. And, and then there may be, a little bit of chicken left, and that's it, which I'm cool with. You know what I do? I love eggs, bro. I'll make 5 eggs and fry them jokers and throw it on my plate with my chicken. And to me, that's a feast, dude. Like I'm down with that. And so, but trying to teach my boys that, because one day they're gonna be daddies potentially.
Yeah.
And then so they need to, just like put others before yourself. And then my kids immediately, they see that. Like they started talking about it, and then my Andrew took his headphones off and wanted to talk, and then Daisy was saying that and putting others before, and they're very grateful, Dad. Thank you so much. And we pay for vacation because I worked at the Masters. I was like, yeah, your daddy had to work like 95 hours in like 5 days, and so like something ridiculous like that. So I was like, your daddy doesn't. I hate driving. Everybody knows me. I do not like driving. But at Masters, that's all I do is drive. I take one for the team. I do it for the family so we can go do something fun. And they're beyond grateful. So I feel like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I see that, and I love to see dads when they're engaged and at the pool is a good on vacation where you see a man not carrying anything and his wife is carrying everything. And you're like, something ain't right about that right there. And he's kind of berating her, and like talking. And I'm like, man, she's got 3 chairs, the 2 bags, and carrying a kid.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can see him, from a distance, he's kind of whining and pouting. You're like, what is up?
Yeah.
But I promise you, man, if you're going to be a man, I mean, and if you're a Christ follower, we're called to serve.
Yeah.
So that needs to be, love your wife as though Christ loved the church. And so like, man, you got to serve. I think it'd be in the beginning that could be completely wrong, but I think it talks about sacrifice in Ephesians 5. Sacrifice. So like husband sacrifice, woman sacrifice, ultimately Christ sacrifice. But putting others before yourselves, that's respectable.
Yeah.
But that dude who don't carry his stuff, I didn't have no respect.
Yeah.
I don't want that dude to plant himself next to me. We ain't got nothing in common.
Yeah, and Nikki will grab stuff, and she'll have a handful of stuff, and I'm like getting out of the vehicle, and I'll be like, "Can I get something?" No, I got, and I just started taking stuff because I'm like, I'm not gonna be the guy that looks like he's just walking, carrying nothing, and you got your hands full. No.
So what do you got?
Well, I'll back on that one. And I've got a quick one I'll tag on to the end. I had written be considerate. Some of the things so we're walking on the sidewalk in a couple of places. It happened twice. One, I forget where the first time was, but basically both of us, like there's 2 guys walking like on a sidewalk or a walkway, and basically they see a lady coming. Nikki sometimes walks a little ahead of me, and I let her because I can then see ahead. I talked about that before.
Oh yeah.
And so she walking a little ahead of me, and I'm kind of keeping my eyes out. Well, 2 guys are coming. They let her walk over into the grass off the walkway while they continue to just walk in the path. And, I let them get past me, and I say something. I say it out loud too, like, way to be a gentleman, and then in Bimini or wherever, that was one of our stops on the cruise ship. It happened again. And these guys, unfortunately, one of the guys was wearing Georgia attire. I almost said something about that. Like, you ain't a true dog, dude. You're not a dog fan doing that. Well, same thing. She walks over into the grass closest to the road. Well, I stayed on the path this time. And you know how you'll let your shoulders brush kind of deal, where you've seen even like in some videos where the shoulder, and then it's kind of starts a little tiff. Well, I let him feel me as I passed him. And then as he passed, I said same thing, like, real gentleman like. And they just kept walking, probably because they're trying to get to go watch the game somewhere. This was on Saturday. But it was just like, I was like, I'm talking about that on the Male Cartel because that's not that's not very manlike.
That's right.
And so one of the things of being considerate, one, guys, if you're married, you got a girlfriend, whatever, you walk on the street side of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And sometimes Nikki will keep edging over there, and that's when I will walk beside her, and I'm like, nope, that's my job, And but for guys to be walking down the sidewalk, you notice a female and you make her walk into the grass while you stay on the sidewalk. That's not respectable. That's not even being a man. And so, that's one of the things I put for being considerate. Opening the door for people. I mean, that's
100%.
something I've taught my kids. You see somebody walking up, grab the door, open it for them. And especially my sons do a great job of that. Haley does it as well. And that's just serving other people,
That's
putting
right.
their interest ahead of your own. I also wrote, helping the elderly and the vulnerable, letting them go first, helping them if they need to carry stuff, whatever. Using your strength to help
That's
other
right.
people, I think, is respectable. And then just being aware of surroundings. Like one of the worst things, and this happens all the time, but it's definitely on even the cruise ship that I noticed. People would be walking up steps, and then they would just stop at the top of the steps and start talking or readjusting a bag. And here's everybody else kind of coming up, and we're like, it's like we got to get or going through a doorway. You're in a main entrance and just stopping and like, all right, what are we gonna do? And it's like not being considerate of people around you, what's going on, the fact that you're in an entrance way or an exit way, other people are trying to enter, you're in your own world, and you lose respect for those kind of people very quickly because they're not being considerate. Like they're only thinking about themselves and their situation, not the fact that they're holding up a whole group of people and kind of bottlenecking, a situation. So when you're talking about, being, putting other people's interest ahead of yourself, I had be considerate, which I think connects. Then something I would tell young guys, if you haven't learned this as an older man, something my dad kind of taught me by default is looking people in their eye when you're talking to them, but also when they're talking to you. Make eye contact. It almost ruined me when I'm like sitting at a conference or sitting in church. I got to be where I can like keep my eye on the speaker. I can't sit in certain areas where I'm distracted because my dad taught me, I'm always, looking around, trying to keep my eye on the person talking to me because when he talked, you looked at him.
That's right.
You looked at him in the eye.
Pay attention.
You pay attention. You let him know, and the other people you're listening to know that you're listening. And that's one of those things I think a lot of young people, they're looking around, they're off in Wonderland, or they're basically not even looking at you.
Overly stimulated.
Yeah. Basically like, well, it's almost like, I don't care what you're, it almost puts off this attitude of like, I don't care what you're saying, or I'm tuning you out. And so if you are giving respect, you're a respectable person. And so just one of those small little nuggets that I'll tag on to being considerate is, look at the person you're talking to, look at the person who's talking to you, make eye contact, give them your attention.
I've just noticed, see money over there, Carell. He ain't even looked at you, bro.
He's not looking at us.
He's not looking at you, bro.
No, he's looking down.
He's looking at some computer
could they hurry
and
up?
like monitor stuff. Dude. I mean, that was
maybe
that
he's
was
looking at me through the video.
That's
maybe what he's
doing.
doing.
He says no. He says no.
He said no.
Yep.
That's all right.
So we got a lot of work to do. So we, I mean, that was one of my 5. One of my kids. I mean, we teach that at a young age, and now I have to teach it as much because they do that. They look people in the eye and they talk to them, and we even ordering food. They have the menu, and been doing this since they were like, I'm guessing 5 years old, maybe 6, and they have to say what they want. They have to say it. I'm not really ordering for them unless it's like weird situation where I have to order. But other than that, they order the food.
Like
we're
if
at
it's Spanish?
If it's like Spanish, they just let me do it,
Yeah.
Spanish is... And,
El burrito.
We had a decent restaurant, and they had to order the food and on this trip. And then we're at another place and ate, and we ordered because it was like standing there, and it was like, we're kind of like mix it up for price sake and try to come up with a good deal. And then the other ones, they have to like look somebody in the eye. So I 100% agree with that, dude. Because if somebody doesn't do that, I kind of lose a little bit of respect. I would add someone to do the right thing. Just do the right thing. I mean, like, and it can go along with a lot of that, but the right thing is what I'm talking about is obviously we're biblical men. So like what the Bible says is right. That is the truth. We do what it tells us to do. But I would say even take another step forward. So like if you're a Christian, do what the Bible says. That's what's right. Our feelings is not right. Facts over feelings. And so like we do what the Bible tells us to do. But if you're not, just use the most logical, rational sense. What makes sense, and do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I respect that. You just doing the right thing. Like, and that kind of like, it's a lot of that. But there's even just moments like if there's, put away your trash. That doesn't seem very like hard.
Right.
You made a mess, clean up your mess.
Your carts.
You carts, your buggies.
Shopping buggy.
Bro, I took a picture. I didn't even post it. But
I put up one this morning.
I might have posted it.
I had to run by Kroger, and there was one in the parking spot right next to us.
I was like, even at, I don't even know where it's at now.
I now just tell the world, that's okay, I'll get it.
Dude, so frustrating. Even in Florida, there's doo-doo necks. And there were so many dookie necks with the carts. There were so many, and we started putting them up, my kids and I. And there was something else. Oh, what was it? It was, my kids said that should be, that person's a dookie neck too if they do that. And
see, they've learned.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was very like common sense.
Yeah.
You're a dookie neck if you do this. It's just a common sense. I'm trying to think what it was. My kids are already putting people on blast. And maybe it was putting up their trash or something like that. But it's like the most common things. Just do. You get a cart out, put the cart back up.
Yeah.
You have trash at McDonald's. Don't just leave it there on the counter.
Yeah.
You made a mess at McDonald's. We'll say you sprayed some ketchup. You make it like it with your fries. Did you know you had napkins in a bag?
Right.
Take the napkins out. Take you 2 seconds. Wipe. Throw it in the trash.
Or even restaurants. Like we've seen families who will leave it destroy. And I was a waiter.
Oh yeah, we stack our plates up, man.
Yeah, we do what we can to straighten up after ourselves, best we can around the floor. When we had young kids, we're not going to leave a bunch of crumbs. Even though they get paid to do it, like it's still not their responsibility for us to be a slob and for them to clean up after us. One, I did the job. I know that side, but you look and you see families doing that, and it's just not a respectable behavior.
Especially,
it looks horrible,
bro. Especially when there's dad, mom, and some kids.
Oh yeah,
and the dad's just like he's concerned on his own thing, and it's like, bro, like, is this our society? But when I was in Florida, it was like that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more like, man, is this society as a whole? Is this society? Diana and Daisy were, I guess they went to a surf shop, and no. It was at Disney Springs, and a woman stopped in the middle of it was so packed, and she was like Hispanic, and she had bubblegum on her shoe. Somebody had thrown bubblegum on the ground.
Oh,
probably a child.
Yeah.
So, and she pulls her shoe up, and Daisy stopped, and they found stuff, and they helped to get the bubblegum off of her shoe. She said, no one would ever help me.
Wow.
To do that. I don't know the exact words, but it was like that. And Daisy was thinking in her head, she was like, well, Daddy, even the smallest acts, like, people notice.
Mm-hmm.
I said, yeah. It's the small things. Same thing with sports, like doing the small things, the fundamental, that really stands out.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing to go. And right now in society, that's one of the things that goes. And so I'm like, man, if you make a mess, stop. You see somebody like bent over with, and you got some time, it's not in a big rush, take it 30 seconds, help somebody get bubble gum, like an older person, bubble gum off their shoes, or a young person, or whatever, or I don't know, man. Just do that.
Yep.
Just do the right thing, bro.
Well, and one of those small things may not be right necessarily, but for guys is like giving a firm handshake.
Yep.
We just watched The Forge or whatever. A lot of people, Nikki had went and seen it, and she was saying it was great, so she and I went and saw it. And a lot of people have been, it's really good. It's really focused on men and discipleship and mentoring and stuff like that. So guys, it'd be worth going to see. But that's one of the things. This guy grows up without a dad. He's been abandoned. And so this business owner takes him under his wing, starts mentoring him, and he teaches him how to shake someone's hand, give him a firm handshake, look him in the eye, and state your name with confidence.
Yep.
Not kind of, right. But just like shaking hand, hey, my name's Nick. and greeting them, respectfully. But that when you're talking about doing the small things, that's a small thing, but it
means a lot.
Communicates respect for that person, but also respect for yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've shaken a guy's hand and it's like,
oh yeah, the wet fish.
There's no confidence there.
Or they grab your fingers. You're like, oh, bro.
I hate missed handshakes.
Oh,
or that's like doing high fives or something and hitting the sides of your hands or something.
I'd rather just do a fist
Just
bump,
do a
dude.
fist
I'm like, what's up, dude? How are you? What's up, bro?
But what about when you go do a fist bump and they shake your hand, go to shake your hand?
You're like, oh no, I don't know what it's called, but it's called something.
Gay.
It is probably called that. You're like, what is going on? Man, I'm trying to think of what my kids. They had the whole thing on Dookie Necks, man. It was hilarious. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was hilarious. So my kids now, they just got to where they just start roasting people. They're as bad as me and you. And so I have to tell them to simmer down, especially my boys, because they'll just whisper to me to roast. And I'm just like dying laughing. And I'm like, please, like, is this what I have to look forward to? So,
yeah. Well, when I was saying also be honest, not only being honest as far as keeping your promise, the other thing is, I respect a person much more who will tell me what they think, or if they disagree, if we got a difference of opinion, they'll tell me to my face versus telling someone behind my back.
Oh, yeah.
I had a former staff member who, we ended up kind of parting ways because of disagreement. And, as he walked away, I was able to tell people, because some people were worried that he was going to do this, that, or the other, cause division. I said, I actually had more respect for him, even though I disagreed with him, because he came to me and told me to my face versus me finding out he went and told someone else about it, or he's been talking to someone else about it. And I was like, I don't agree with him. I don't think what he did was right. But at the end of the day, I can respect him because he at least brought the issue to me.
Right.
He at least came to my face and said, I have this disagreement or whatever. And so, I think that's part of being honest. And I think you gain more respect by going to someone and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I have this disagreement. I have this difference of opinion, whatever that might be. So you'll gain much more respect that way than if someone finds out you've been talking behind their back. And nothing stays secret.
That's right.
You might think it stays secret. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It always
somebody's on tell somebody's son. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody, just to, you and I, whatever we talk about, there's a few things that are private, but other than that, whatever we talk about, you can go tell somebody, hey, well, Shane said that, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go, hey man, yeah, I did say that, and I told you that once before. So like, this shouldn't surprise you,
right?
If it does surprise you, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to scare you, but you know what I mean. Like just being a.
Well, there have been times I've come to you and said, "Hey, did you have this conversation? Because this was said to another person who then it got back to me."
That's right.
And it's like, well, it's not exactly how that was said.
Because some people, what they'll do is they'll
project their own.
Yeah, 100%. They will project how they feel, or what if you said, man, that was a good game on Saturday, Georgia or whatever. That was a good game. Somebody think that I'm not a Clemson fan anymore.
Right.
I'm just saying, just giving you kudos. Like it was a good game, But they were in this conversation, but they're going to project their own thing and then manipulate it. And usually that's somebody who's like selfish or arrogant, and they're going to like twist things to do that. And the best thing of those people was like when you're face to face with them, just as a man, is just expose it.
Yeah.
Hey man, this is what was said. That's not what was said. So how did you come to that conclusion? And then let them they're going to probably squirm.
Yeah.
Be like, nah, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. That's one of the things I find very disrespectful. I don't admire people who try to manipulate the situation or anything, especially with a personal gain.
Yeah.
They try to like twist things around to get them an edge. I'm like, nah, bro.
Well, everyone wants support. So they want it to look like, even, like in that case, it was like people know you and I are good friends. So it's like,
that's right.
Even Nick's best friend has said this. And, so it validates my lie. It validates my gossip because
100%.
It's like, no, that he didn't say that. It's kind of like the situation over the last couple of weeks with Joe Rogan, where the media
That's right.
twisted and chopped up what he was saying to make it look like he was supporting Kamala Harris. And now he's furious about it. He's suing them because he was talking about two different people and they meshed it together to make it look like he supports her. It's no different than when people take something that's said or a hypothetical, or if that were to happen, then this is, my thoughts about that.
Oh yeah.
Then to go, oh, well, he feels the same way. And so honesty, it's like, hey, if you got a problem with someone or you got an issue or disagreement, go to them and tell them. That way, when you do tell someone else, if you do, you've at least told them to their face. Now it's not gossip and it's not behind their back, but it's like, okay, yeah, I know that. We have a different disagreement on that.
My rule on conflict, and this is how I lead my home, and this may help somebody. I don't know, but even in my home and how I do my wife and my kids, and a rule that I have, if like you and I you said something and it kind of bothered me, if it's you and me, we're just going to talk it out because we're friends and it's fine. But if it was like somebody I really didn't, wasn't buds with, and I ain't got many buds, but like in that regard, so I'm going to sit on it 24 hours, and I'm going to figure out if that's a preference thing, because everybody's got preferences. Maybe my problem, maybe they didn't mean, maybe it's just a preference thing, what they said. And if it is, then hey, it's not like they sinned against me or they did something really cruel. It's just a preference thing. And everybody's got their own preference. I'm fine. If it still bothers me within 24 hours, then I need to immediately set up an appointment or have a conversation with them, to have a conversation to say, hey, this bothered me when you said this. But I'm going to really decide. And if it's a preference thing, I'll never bring up a preference thing. Preference, I don't care less about preferences. But when I was young, though, when you're so young and you're like, you just want to fight for everything, my preference was like king. I felt like I was in the right. When really it's like, no, I think I love Popeyes. I'd eat Popeyes over Chick-fil-A. But if you like Chick-fil-A and you say something Popeyes, you're just saying because it's a preference thing. Don't make a difference. We ain't gonna give you. I'm not giving you a trophy. You're not getting a trophy from me. So who cares? Right. You're not making any money off of it. There's no value in that.
There's a guy that talks about, he does different videos on Instagram. He's a lawyer, and he talks about how to handle different situations. And he said, like, when there's a disagreement, a good response is, well, that's a perspective.
Oh, yeah. That's perspective. Yeah.
That's a perspective. If you said you liked Popeyes and I said I liked whatever, well, that's a perspective.
That's right.
You don't have to disagree. I mean, like, you don't have to argue over it.
That's exactly
But yeah,
right.
if it's a personal attack versus a preference type thing, then it may need to be addressed.
Yeah. But other than that, you just don't. If it still bothers you, and that's something I would tell my wife all the time. When somebody says something like sharp to her, I'm like, yeah, you're taking it as a dig. They're not really digging. They're just stating their preference. They're just overly stating it, suppressing yours. But it's because they just don't know, like, good manners. They just don't really know that. Yeah. So, like, that's, you got to show them some grace. But, oh, yeah, you probably need to address that. And my wife, she doesn't like conflict. She'll be like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, you can't talk about it now. It's been 5 days. Now you're going to have your feelings involved, and the facts are not going to be all facts. You can have 20% feelings, 80% facts. You should have addressed it immediately. If you don't address it immediately, you can't really address it.
And that's one of the things I've learned. I know Nikki's learned in the church world. You've got people with different personalities as well that can seem like, man, they're grouchy. They're this way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just how they come across. And there's some of the, maybe that end up being some of the kindest people.
Yep.
But it's just how they, they can be in the greatest of mood and they are, but then you hear them talk in a certain way. And for me, from the South, most of the time it's Northerners. But it's still like, you have to learn to be patient and to learn who people are. And it's like, are they really upset? Because you can make something major that's not.
That's right.
But, maybe having to have a conversation. If so, hey, were you upset with me about this? Oh, no, I'm fine. But I know Nikki's learned that even with some other ladies where it seems like they're coming across as like maybe a little hard or, grouchy. And it's like, no, they're fine. It's just that's right. Their persona.
100%. That's right.
Did you have anything else?
Nah, man. I'm good. What you got?
No, I'm just going to rattle these off. I'm not going to talk about them. I'd say much of what we were just talking about, invest your time on a personal level with people, especially young people.
Yep.
That's how we gain respect. TIME, that's how you spell love, according to Jenny Mayo, spending time with people. I'd say call out the positive people, especially young men. We can always kind of focus on the negative, and if everything's negative, then you're not going to gain respect from them, because it's like you're always getting on to me, you're always bashing me, you're always telling me what's wrong with me versus what's positive. Take ownership in our failures, but also in our struggles, to let other young men know and other guys know, hey, I struggle with this. I know as a pastor that's important, because people can think you've got all this stuff kind of figured out, and we don't.
Nope.
And so, taking ownership, being honest in that way, and then being teachable, knowing that we don't have it all figured out, because when you're prideful and you're kind of act like you know it all, that's not respectable. That's one of the hardest people to be around, is like everything you say, they know the right answer, or everything you say, they know it better. And it's just like, you don't want to be around those
humility,
people.
man.
Humility.
Yeah. See somebody super humble, it makes you, I don't know, just makes you want to be around him more. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, that's a good dude. So humble. I think of humbleness. I think of like Ryan Gill, how Ryan's always like encouraging people, Yeah. And then he's a very successful guy, but he's always like, I don't know. I'd never hear him like bragging. I always hear him like trying to toot everybody's horn a lot. I don't know if that's a toot something like that, but like he's always doing that. So that's something I admire in him.
Well, one of the things I've heard in leadership training is ask more questions than give answers. Even if you think you know or you do know, take more of an ignorant role and go, what about this? Why this? Ask questions to learn. And I think that keeps us in a mindset of being teachable versus, well, no, this actually, I read this article and it's this way, it's like, well, why do you feel that way? Why do you believe that way? Why does that function that way? What's going on here? Asking more questions, I think, keeps us in a more humble mindset. And I've heard some of the greatest leaders, that is how they approach things. They ask more questions than they give answers.
That's one of my 3 things when teenagers go back to school, middle school, high school. One of the 3 things I give them is, if you want to make friends, be a great listener.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got something to say.
Yep.
And they always want that friend that'll listen to everything.
Yeah.
And you want to make friends on the first day of school, first week, just be the best listener ever. And I promise you, you will have an abundant supply of friends.
Yeah.
They want to hang out with you. They'll like you, be like, oh man, I can't wait to go sit at lunch with them because I got to tell them this.
Right.
I got to tell them this. I got to tell them that.
Because they feel like they're seen and heard.
That's right.
One of the more successful churches in the United States teaches their first impressions team, when they greet people, to ask their name and then to ask them, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Is that Joel Osteen's church?
No.
Okay.
No.
I know y'all are
a little more biblically correct than that.
Okay. All right.
We are not tight.
That's a joke, guys. It's
it is a joke. It is a joke.
You can laugh.
We can joke like that and not be offended. I'm offended. I'm going to tell everybody, Shane.
Doggone it.
Dadgummit.
I'm going to have to make up and buy you some Hey Dudes.
But they say, tell me about yourself, because people love to talk about themselves. Yep. They love to tell people about who they are and their family and stuff like that. And so it's a great approach versus, oh, let me tell you about the church and this and that. And it's just like, hey, my name's Nick. What's your name? Shane. Well, tell me about yourself, Shane. And you're going to immediately start talking about what's important to you. And now you have fuel for a conversation.
Yep.
Oh, you surf. Well, tell me about, or you ride motorcycles, or tell me about that. What do you ride? So you got a conversation.
That's a good nugget, man. That's a good nugget, especially trying to share the gospel.
Well, you got anything else? I know you got.
That's good, dude.
To get to.
Yeah, man.
It's been a good conversation.
It's been awesome.
Real quick. Found out this week that we have been requested, because right now they're doing it by request. But we have been asked to set up a booth or a table at Men of Valor 2025. So
let's go.
Male Cartel will be there. I'll be doing another breakout. You'll be there.
I'll be there. I'll just be at the booth. I'll be at the table hanging out, doing some probably man on the street or something like that too. We'll probably have some merch.
We definitely have some merch. We've already talked about some ideas for that. So that's going to be good.
And then we'll be at the table, so come hang out.
So in the show notes, I'm going to put the link because the tickets are already on sale, the lowest price you're going to get. And so you can go ahead and go purchase that before prices go up. And, if you got any, you can reach out to me if you've got any questions as far as like how everything works, because there's lodging is different than the conference tickets and stuff like that. But we'd love for you to show up unless you're already a part of Men of Valor. We got to meet several guys that say they listen that we didn't even know, brand new guys.
Yeah, man.
So awesome. Men of Valor 2025 is coming August. I forget the exact date, 15th and 16th, because it's Shane's 48th birthday
that Saturday.
So show up, bring him a gift, bring some balloons.
Yep.
It's going to be great. So if you enjoyed this episode, we're so grateful that you tuned in. As we ask always, like and share it. Leave a review on iTunes. You can leave a written review. Give us a 5-star rating if we've earned it.
Yep.
And other than that,
that's it. Well, yeah, we can get 1% better. And you guys have a great day.
See ya.
Holla.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.